Welcome back, everybody. Got ourselves another educational Smurf lobby. Today, I will be playing mid, and we've got a little bit UI update displaying the MMRs. And it's really important in mid lane to note that we are trying to play like a carry that makes space. We want to use our abilities, our power, the levels we get early to farm, but also so that we scale, but also to create pressure on the opponent team. And so, because I'm against SF most likely, I really want to block. Certain matchups, it's not as important to block. It's all about like whether or not the positioning near your tower makes a big difference. A hero like SF who can threaten you with raises, it's definitely very important that we want to keep our distance and hold our positioning. So I hold my hero select button and it'll center your hero. That's how you block properly, like this, so your screen follows your hero. And we're going to start off by right-clicking the lane forward, something very standard for mid laners to do, because you don't want the lane pushing into you at the start, because most heroes can't handle the creeps. He's being very aggressive. Can't talk too much during the lane. So I like to take stun level 1, just because it's more damage than Dragon Slave. He's trying to threaten their raise. Fucking with all the CS. Creep back or backwards. Tried to hit him with the stun, didn't work, but I always use my nukes for CS. That's the biggest thing. I'm always ready to hit this creep in case he hits it. Almost got lucky on me there by missing. I can move myself closer to the creep to ensure that I try to get the last hit. Didn't work that time. Aggroing away from him. So in that case, I use a nuke to secure a CS because two different creeps are dying at the same time. Whenever creeps are near my tower range, I always try to ensure that I'm within range of... Or I check to see if the creeps are within range of my tower by pushing alt. You saw that there. You can use global aggro if the enemy hero is not showing to draw the creeps back. The root's spawning, ball is coming out. We're gonna go pick it up first because he's pushing the lane into us. Always try to remember to backpack your items when you're bottle charging. That's for max efficiency. We're gonna miss one creep worth of CS there, but not a big deal. And we're gonna miss another one if we're bad. Hit another one. Not a big deal. So I actually like going Falcon Blade on mid Lena. This gives you nice mana regen to stam your spells. The nukes for CS and him at the same time, really important. Always try to look to get those right clicks in. Gotta be careful now that he has two raises on me. Oh shit, I might be dead. Okay, saved myself there. Yeah, he's playing well. He's playing aggressive. Gotta stand our ground. We're actually gonna fly a Sal out because he's like kind of griefing himself for the sake of being aggressive. So sometimes you'll be in mids where the guy like just tries to take both of you down with you. He tries to take you down with him, you know. So I'm gonna take this time to go pick up a bounty rate, because I imagine he's going back to base since he was super low and he wasn't fighting me. So anytime the enemy mid is missing, I always just try to ask myself, what could they be doing right now? And this Sal seems to end up backfiring because he actually gave up. A lot of mids that do that, they'll actually have like a plan where they will all-in you and then try again very soon. And the last thing you want to do is allow them to all-in you once and then all-in you again. So he was a little bit short-sighted there by not having a backup plan or like a follow-up to that. So he's going to go pick up the bounty. We're going to keep it on our hill here. So whenever there's a situation like this, you just want to like tank the creep outside a tower. Going to get the wave on top of your hill. We can maximize our Q stacks as well. Okay, so he used all three raises. So he seems to be playing for farm. And notice how the creeps are dead for so long between waves. So we're just going to take this time to farm, you know. Use both abilities to get max stacks. We can be a little efficient here and stack that camp as well. So anytime we leave the lane like this, we're just monitoring, okay, what's he doing with the lane? You know, what's he doing? So in this case, we missed one creep for a jungle camp. And that's just something where whenever you leave lane, just kind of gauge, like, you know, what did you trade? So we're just using a nuke to keep our stacks going. So in this case, we're just playing for farm. Like, he's clearly playing for farm at this point, so that's what we're going to do too. And we're a hero that's okay doing that. If you find yourself in lanes like this against like snipers and SFs who just want to nuke the wave out and farm, then you should play for farm too. Unless you think you can punish them, which in this case, I don't think I really can. So always monitoring the lane. Runes are spawning, so just because we're farming and stuff doesn't mean we want to like run ourselves doom or anything. It's really important that even though we're farming, that we're able to contest a rune. So I kept a stack up there because I think having 7 stacks is super important. So we're going to fort the catapult so we don't miss any creeps here. I think, well, that's unlucky. No stun DG, and he got a haste. It is what it is. So we ran out of mana, but even though he got the haste, we like brought him down to low. We're going to take his time to like push out the wave. It looks like he's content doing the same. Lazily warding there because it's tough to remember. Just going to keep our stacks up at all times. And notice how, like, every time we finish the wave, I'm just going to check the clock knowing that the creep waves meet at 6:45, or like 45 on the minute. So, we're just going to go back to base here, because we're really low on mana. But we have, like, a perfect amount of mana to finish off a creep camp, and then we're going to go back to base. But since he's pushing the lane in so aggressively, I'm actually going to go back and clear one more wave. So whenever they push in the lane aggressively like this, they might come up and try to punish you if they're a hero like Batrider. Usually if they're a hero like SF that likes to farm, we're just going to come pick up the wave, and then we're going to go back to base. Try to keep my stacks up there, just slightly. So we're just going to do this, and this is, like, really important, you know? Think about, like, getting as much off the map as possible before you go back to base. So ideally, we want this to be outside of tower when we do this, so that we're missing as little as possible. So we're just going to, like, survey the lanes. See, like, this lane seems to be going okay. Top lane seems to be going alright as well, so we're not going to, like, force anything. In the sense that, like, we don't need to rotate. We're just a ranged Lina. Just play it for our own farm. So as a mid, you have to kind of survey the map and think, do I play for my own farm? Or do I play to, like, help my teammates? And if I felt like my bottom lane was immensely struggling, getting pressure, they're getting dove there, I'd probably TV there and just use my volley of spells real quick and then run back to mid. Gotta try to make sure we get to the rune. I'm gonna be a little late. He's gonna be there, so I'm just gonna deny it. I saw him leave mid, so I just kind of assumed he was there. He obviously was, since he gave me the GG. Well played. Gonna go finish off this camp first. So notice how we're trading farm with this guy, but we're kind of winning, right? Like, we're winning the trade because we're level 8.5 and he's only level 7. So notice how at this bracket, especially 2 to 3k, you can play like this. If you do it efficiently, it will be good enough, you know? You will get more farm than the opponent. And it's not like I wouldn't play like this in my bracket, but I just think it's more reliable to play for your own farm as long as you feel like your teammates are doing fine. Oh, that's like the perfect item for Lina. Jungling. So we're going to go back to mid after this because he's pushing him in. So notice how we're really trying to time our rotations back based on when the creep wave gets pushed in. We can block the wave a little bit. We have bots. We actually shouldn't have bought this TP because the bots give you a new TP. So in this case, we actually feel pretty comfortable pushing the lane in, like hitting the tower. And of course we regret it because I'm bad. So I died because I'm a noob. I felt comfortable hitting the tower, and then I immediately regretted that decision. And a large portion of that is that I thought the Primal was in lane, but he wasn't. So I'm just a noob. There's really no excuse. I'm just a noob. So you gotta be really careful when you're a squishy ranged guy of walking up and hitting the tower. That death was actually really bad. In my type of games, that would pretty much cost me. But so we're gonna look. He's doing pretty chill on PA. Looks like we're pretty chill bottom as well. We're gonna take that. Actually, we're gonna give the Zeus the fairy trinket because we like this item, the one we have. So we're just gonna keep farming. I'm actually going to queue up the fucking Maelstrom because I think we're going to have some issues this game with what's happening. We're down 4-0. And Lina doesn't really make space by virtue of killing people when her teammates are behind. Whenever I'm playing ranged carries, my ability to make moves on the map is directly related to how strong my team is. Because they need to, like, run in for me, right? So we're, like, monitoring the lanes. As long as we're farming, we're pretty chill. Somebody on my team was nice enough to stack Ancients for me. Trying to, like, survey the map anytime I can. Nobody on my team is soaking XP, so the game's a little rough. Vector's taking over mid. I always try to keep an eye out for, like, where my carry hero's trying to farm. Like in this case, he's mid. I was too low to contest runes, so I'm actually going to try to like reset and then run out of base really quickly. That's the nice part about having boots of travel, because runes are spawning. I always want to try to be ready for them if possible. Looks like the opponent's trying to invade, so keeping an eye out for like how the opponent's trying to play with their lead is really important. So we got to be really careful, especially when you're losing, of running into your carry too much, basically, because you're both trying to farm, and there's not as much space available. So we saw Primal like wrap behind mid. So we're gonna like try to make a move here. So we just see like a big amount of pressure going on mid, and since they were diving my mid laner, I'm actually gonna do or my carry mid. I'm gonna do this just to push it out because they were in our jungle just now. So like this is like a ninja do this and get the fuck out scenario. See how they were like behind me there? So if I ever see them like killing my teammate back here and I'm a boots of travel here, I'll just do that real quick. And that relieves a lot of the pressure of the mid lane. As long as the tower's not dying, we're pretty chill. Now let's see how we're just kind of like moving around the map away from the opponent. That's what these boots of travel allow you to do. Like now they're bottom, so we're pressuring top tower. Hard to keep up with my own movements here in terms of talking about my thought, but like we're kind of just staying away from them since we're losing. And we're trading a tower at the end of the day. It's really hard to fight them. So we need to separate them and take favorable engagements based on numbers. So we know Pudge TP's bottom. So like we're kind of like monitoring where the opponent's dedicating their resources. So like Pudge TP bottom, so you know, now they're behind us, they're trying to gank us. I'm gonna stay in their jungle. Actually, my team's fighting and Pudge is bottom, so I'm actually gonna run behind here. It's a little bit of an overextension from the opponent. So, like, I'm not going to interact with them, but if I see them doing some crazy shit like that, absolutely, you know, I'll come over. And you kind of just have to gauge, like, how far is too far? How much is the opponent allowed to invade us? So we could have maybe hit the tower, but I think they wouldn't let us do that in a normal game. Like, I wouldn't rely on it because I'm low mana. But, like, if I'm not strong for any reason, I feel squishy, I have low mana, like, whatever the reason is, I am going to not assume the opponent will just let me have something, right? I don't want to just like hit that mid tower when I think I'm weak and just say, yeah, I don't think they're going to stop me. It's like I have to think they can't stop me, right? That's how I calculate my decisions. So SF's doing a pretty good job of pressuring our towers, but since we took that top tower, that's like a pretty big deal when you're losing like this. So we're going for a little bit of farming speed, then we're going for survivability. Try to stay away from our Spectre if possible. Earlier it wasn't, but here it was. We're just surveying like, okay, who can threaten us? EA has Battle Fury now. It's like pretty decent timing. So we're not doing the walk up the tower thing again because I've actually learned that lesson way too many times. Trying to take a little bit of enemy farm. We saw that they were bottom, so we run into their jungle. Okay, they're still bottom. We don't have Haunt though. So we have to assume that they're going to keep running around like this. In low MMRs, people tend to do one of two things. They're either going to run at you as 5 inefficiently, or they're going to like split up and farm and die. We just got to keep an eye out for which one they're going to do. And it looks like they're doing the 5-man thing. Probably more likely since we are in a private lobby, even though they don't know each other. So notice how with the 5-man thing, push lanes and run. Run towards the guy that's alone. That's like the mentality. So even if we don't think we can kill this PA, we just need to get him out of here. We might even kill him because we have a ward. I just walked over a fucking outpost. I'm a noob. Me noob. That was so noob. So now we failed. Just back. If they overextend into us. Yeah, so they're running into a blade mail bristle. Yeah. So that's a situation where we cautiously assisted, you know? We're like, oh, they're running into a blade mail bristle. So even though we failed, you're seeing the power of just forcing reactions when the opponent is stronger than you. And like, we just forced them, and then we're like, okay, well now they're all top. So they're not pressuring bottom anymore. They're not running at us. They're now all pincered in their own jungle, even though PA lived, which is not ideal because I messed up. We're like, okay, well now they're all babysitting the PA rather than PA just free farming solo XP. Dine's going mech. Bristle. So we have 2 blade mails. So we have a lot of frontline on our team. So if I think I have a lot of frontline, that means I'll be ultra patient in fights. I'll basically let him always go on my frontliners first. Okay, so my Spectre TP'd here. So I'm gonna let him have the farm. I'm just nuking. Unfortunate since I almost have BKB, but he saw them top, or we forced them top, so like this area is pretty safe for now. And we're always just kind of retreating from where we forced them to. So like now I'm running towards the bottom. Ah, shit. Well, I didn't expect this, to be honest. Normally I wouldn't be farming there, but the Spectre was farming the camps that I wanted. So that's kind of like a close call you have to make, where like I wanted to be farming this and finish my BKB, but since the Spectre TP'd there to farm, I kind of had to choose. And so I could have chosen to be really safe there and elected to just like sacrifice efficiency. I did not think the opponent would move 2 heroes bottom like that, but technically the PA never TP'd, so it just took Pudge moving bottom. That was just a bit of an oversight on my part. If I have BKB, that doesn't happen, but I do definitely need to be a bit more careful. So despite everything, I feel like this game's going okay. We're down 4-13, but we're pretty farmed. We're just kind of feeding. We're noob. So one way to win for mid is to just be highest level in the game with the most farm. I don't want to just be AFK all game, right? So that's why these movements of like subtle pressure are really important. So we're just monitoring. They're all bottom still. So if you buy Boots of Travel, this is how you intend to play. You're like, I can't really fight them directly, or I can fight them wherever. Like, you're either trying to separate them, or you're trying to punish them separating you, right? That's how Boots of Travel kind of play out. So they're pressuring bottom. We don't have forward for a sec. So we want to, like, mirror this pressure a bit. Like, because they're pressuring, we also want the pressure if possible, and we're here at the hits towers. Okay, so they forwarded as well. Give them a second to tell us if they're going to keep going. Looks like I'm not really sure what they're doing. Yay, TP'd mid. We would need our Bristle back to go there, to be honest. I'm not going to be the first one that TP's in because I'm the squishy ranged guy. Definitely supposed to be Bristle. But he's not there. Please do not crit again. Oh my god, the double crit! So in that case, we were perfectly happy to force reactions, and the Primal went on me, but I figured there was only maybe 1 or 2 heroes with him. So I'm thinking like, okay, they're probably not all here yet because they were just bottom, so I want to make as many heroes come as possible, and then I'm going to leave last second. So I tried to do that, and it failed. That's all that really happened there. I tried to make as many heroes come there, and I barely died. So I'm pretty happy to like push my limits like that. Like I'm pretty happy if I think like that's what I was going for. I was trying to force reactions, and then I was going to get out. But in this case, it didn't work. Perfectly happy to invest my BKB for that if I'm losing. So what's awkward about this game is that I'm not a survivable force on the map. I'm just kind of like a squishy range guy that's trying to create space. And since I feel like our tanky dudes are playing super defensive on the map, it's leading to not really knowing what to do here. So they're all top. My Spectre is kind of insanely hitting this tower. Apologize for the quick interruption, guys, but there was a little bit of audio issues going on in the middle of the video, so I'm just recording over myself of what I said during the game for this small window. So here we're playing purely for not fighting them head-on anymore. In these moments, I ask myself, am I itemizing for playing the map, or am I itemizing for playing for fights? In this particular instance, I chose to play the map because I didn't really feel like we could fight them. So I'm asking myself at this point in the game what objective I think the opponent is going to go for, and I think it's Roche. And since I don't want to fight, I'm deciding to push the lane on the opposite side of the map. My teammate's trying to smoke me, but I'm not really the initiator, and we don't have one, to be honest. We have a Spectre Haunt, but we don't have any stuns. Well, PA has Aegis now, and the goal of what we're doing here is that our map positioning ensures that when they have Aegis, they can't really do much with it because they're busy responding to us. So it looks like they're running at us here. The game's a bit frustrating, and teammates in these type of games, they'll generally get a bit tilted, but you have to stay on the map. Don't get baited back to base with your team. This is really important to not to show up to fights like what's happening at Tier 2 Tower, unless you absolutely have to. So I keep monitoring it, but I'm seeing that the enemy is actually using their BKBs, and they're being inefficient with this tower push because we have fortification, Spectre's farming top, I'm farming bottom, and we're actually splitting them really well. So I keep looking back to see whether or not they're forcing the issue, whether or not they're going to go high ground. And I see that they look like they're backing off a little bit. It's like they're using BKBs. We're pretty happy with what's going on here. We're splitting them really well. And I keep continuing to monitoring whether or not they're going to force it. So we're super okay with what's going on here. Unless Spectre dies, which indeed he does. But nothing you can do about that. So we're just continuing to force them to separate. Everything we do, we push lanes in order to make them come back to their base. So we see that Snapfire TP'd bottom, and we also see that Pudge is top. But since we keep forcing them to respond to lanes, they're killing us a bunch, but they're not really getting on anything off of it. So notice how we're just continuing to push these lanes. So every time we show on a creep wave, we want to think that we're giving the opponent the choice, the option to run at us. So we don't want to show for too long. Like, I think it's too long to clear this next creep wave because I just saw Primal in their triangle. So I'm going to back off and get mana. And the only reason I'm actually willing to go back to base here is because we've seen enemies on their side of the map chasing after us. And the other example, they were hitting our tier 2 tower. If we TP'd back to base, there was no way to get out. So we just got to be careful getting gone on here. On the mid lane, notice how we're kind of like kiting away from mid. So we saw PA bottom. He has Vasher, yeah. So we have Lincoln. We really don't feel comfortable going on him. So because PA is bottom, they don't really have much damage for me without him during my BKB. So I'm going to feel pretty confident to like TP there and kite them again. Play near my team at this point. So we're like splitting the map 50-50, which we're like pretty happy with. Yep, so they're all sitting bottom. We're super being chill. Need to make sure we don't get hooked by Pudge, assuming that we're getting responded to.
Be careful, be careful.
Oh.
10 seconds and X.
And that's a response into the Aegis. So I saw them still hitting tier 3, so I thought they weren't responding. But obviously they were half and half. So I just make sure I tell my team BKB's on cooldown, so don't fight. So I'm perfectly fine to force reactions and use BKB, you know? Because that made them stop pushing my high ground. But now I see them coming, so I'm just pushing out the lane and running. This is what the Shadow Blade allows me to do. So I forced a reaction mid from 3 heroes, and then they ran bottom, and now I can just TP top. And they have nobody to be there, right? They can only be there with, like, PA. Like, I don't want to show on the tower, because PA can be here. So I don't want to go back towards my side of the map as avoidable, because that's where the opponent is. Never run towards the opponent, especially when you know where they are. It's like my team's struggling a bit trying to take the outpost. Just remember, when they're invading like this, they don't want to come deal with you. They don't want to come chase you around the map. You're annoying them. Like, I guarantee you the enemy is very annoyed right now. Gotta be careful, because my Bristle probably forced a reaction, right? Oh, he sees me. Oh, what?
I guess I'm dead, huh?
Huh. The blaster should have worked, right? Not sure what happened. That they are actually dying, so I guess this kind of worked out. No BKB PA. This kind of worked out. Okay. Well, I guess this worked. Chaos is king. Get him, boys. They're both broken, and then... Ooh. Okay, that's actually not bad. That was like a 3 for 3. I mean, this is what I mean, like, in these type of games, you can't really plan for, like, normal shit, right? You just have to, like, hope the opponent does stuff like this and somehow botches it. So, you guys saw there, if PA doesn't have... if I have Lincolns, none of this shit happens. I don't get gone on by Primal. I didn't know he had a Sentry, so I kind of sucked. Get Obsent. But it allowed our teammates to move out on the map. It allowed us to... Like, this is great. We're, like, super happy with what just happened. We, like, wish we lived, and we got some of the benefits ourselves, but we're, like, super farmed. We actually kind of want our Spectre to, like, enter the game. That's, like, a really bad item on Spectre, because Spectre Desolate doesn't miss. Should have filled my bottle at base, but I don't really plan to use it. So we're trying to avoid them at all costs still. We almost have our item. I'm going to take one of these CS. I really hope I don't die here. I'm not going to be greedy, though. I don't feel safe on that mid wave, and I don't want to get distracted by the fact that I almost have an item. Yeah, they're around mid right now.
They want to hold Roche.
Yeah, so they want to play for Roche. You see them. We're going to try to pick up the wave, but, like, pull it away from them. Whenever you're, like, killing waves, you want to try to do it as safely as possible. Wait for our cooldowns. We almost have Font. Our Zeus killed their ward here, so we should actually feel pretty safe. So PA is doing some dumb shit. We're happy about dumb shit. Very happy about dumb shit. We want to fight them at Rush now. Because they don't have, PA. We want to force them to fight us in the next 40 seconds. So at this point, we're like, okay, they're outnumbered now. This is fantastic. We'll let our Spectre have Aegis. We'll let him start making the plays now. Looks like he's our playmaker. A lot of games where you're not sure who the playmaker is, kind of like let somebody on your team decide for you, you know? Because if it ain't you, you know, don't force it. So I'm actually going to give us some survivability this game against the damage they have, which is AC. So it's probably Sheep, actually, now that I think about it. I value Armor less than disabling the opponent. We see Sap mid, we see Primal. We're just monitoring constantly where people are. Camping high grounds this late in the game is super important when you're not sure where they are. I want to keep my stacks up. Cutting mid-wave at all times like this is super important. I'm not going to like give them item suggestions now. Unless that item suggestion is for my hero, like meaning will it help me or not? Okay, so our guy's going in. I got to fight. Yay, so we forced a BKB from Primal. Yay, so we're going to let that guy go because he BKB'd. So at this point, we win long fights, 100%. We have like a hard on Bristle, we have Spectre, Aegis, we have Zeus over time. As long as we're alive at the start of the fight, like they don't burst us with their combo of like SF ulti and Primal Beast ulti, then we will win the fight. Like they have to burst us, right? So I think Spectre thinks he's supposed to play defensively because he has Pawn, but he has Aegis, so he needs to be like tough on the map. He's not really playing according to my hero. Like, I don't want to be in front of Spectre. He has Aegis. I don't care that he's a Spectre with Haunt, you know? I need him to be in front of me. But he's not doing that. And so, you know, I have the option to, like, explain that to him in a game, which is totally reasonable. But I don't want to tell him that. Like, I don't want to teach him how to play Dota in the middle of the game. Like, this is like a normal pub. You know, I'm simulating what I would do if I have a teammate that I feel like is playing incorrectly. You know, I'm just like, oh, you know... I'll say that if my entire team's gonna ping me. Like, if they're all gonna ping me, I'll answer, like, what needs to happen, you know? But that's, like, my only communication. But my Spectre's hitting Ancients right now, so it is what it is. So this will happen a lot in your guys' games, especially in lower MMRs, you know? You're like, I want to do something, we have Aegis. But it's like, I have a recipe for how I think things need to happen. And that does not include Spectre hitting our side of the map, which is what he's doing. Our Bristleback's dead right now, which kind of sucks. But we have Sheep, so we're going to have playmaking potential now. We're actually going to look for a kill on Lena. They can see that TP if they were looking. I should have TP'd earlier. I'm literally just waiting for my team to do things because I'm a ranged guy that doesn't start fights. But if I see somebody alone on the map, I will absolutely try to kill them. See, I could have waited to clear that wave, assuming one of their team might have shown on it, and that could have been good patience. So that was an option, and I just didn't because they hadn't been showing. But I could have absolutely given them a chance to show there. So my team's soaking. I'm going to show up for the fight. The Sheep allows me to actually start fights. Okay, so Aegis timed out. We effectively wasted it. I'll take the Witchbane, actually. So, I'm always willing to TP if I have Fort. So, always be ready with Boots of Travel if you have Fort. It's like an off-on switch almost, like, yes, you're willing because you have Fort. So, opponent's getting a little bit impatient. So, we're now taking them off. This happens a surprising amount after you split push them for like 20 minutes in a row. And the game pretty much ends off that, right? And I generally say we have solved our problems with money. When in doubt, play the map and farm and get a lot of money. Let the opponent do what they just did. I would say the PA slipped up a little bit, right? But like this is stuff that will happen in every bracket. People eventually mess up if you're making them react to you. That's the biggest thing. If they're making plays on their own, they're not going to mess up. Like if they're like, we want to go here, then here, then here. They're not going to mess up. But if they are reacting to what you're doing, they'll mess up. So there's him trying to flank on us. Didn't work. And now we have Megas, and we can just back off. We could probably end the game, but I don't have stacks, and there were no creeps. So generally when I have Megas, I just let all 3 creep waves come in. So like, this is my timer here. So like, this wave's coming in, this wave's coming in. And once all 3 waves come in, it's just infinitely easier to end the game. So like, we could definitely have ended there. But like, I like to wait for all 3 waves. Like, it just makes it so easy. I'm dead. Okay, so I BKB just for good measure. And we're back. A little bit of lapse in awareness there. But game ends. The game was really tough. In terms of the opponent had a lot more space than us, and they were killing us. But notice how, even though kill score is 18-4, because we were farming so much, the game was pretty much even at all times. And I would say, like, it feels bad, right? Because the opponent's choosing everything that they want to do on the map. It doesn't feel like we can fight them. And a lot of times, impatience will just kill you, right? It'll just get you where you TP back to base that one time, you die, and the enemy team who's grouped up as 5 then turns that Aegis that they got into high ground. And then you're down a lane of racks, all that kind of stuff. We had a couple of really bad deaths this game, absolutely. But just notice how by split pushing and forcing, basically kiting the opponent back and forth on the map, they eventually messed up. And this is like what generally happens. Like the game's like on this freaking tightrope where both teams are like, one team's splitting, the other team's trying to force the game to end or like group up and take objectives. And then, you know, things kind of just fall apart instantly for one team or the other. The split pushing team either ends up being forced to come back to base and they die and lose their base, or the opponent team who's grouping up and pushing the base tries to respond to the split push in some way, whether that's just by farming 2 different lanes or like going for a kill. Like they went on me in the Ancients and killed me, but then proceeded to feed to the rest of my team, which is a big deal because they had to use so many BKBs to bring me down. But okay, guys, that's another episode of the Educational Smurf Lobby. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay with Mid Lena. Next time around, it'll be a different position. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.